The three armies of Wintermark, the Fist of the Mountains, the Green Shields, and the Blood Cloaks, gathered before the autumn equinox in the marshes of Calavisa. Many soldiers availed themselves of the opportunity to visit the shrines of the ancestors that lie along the banks of the Great Lakes, to honour the heroes who have gone before, to contemplate the spiritual power at the heart of the Wintermark nation, to be anchored, at least for a short time, in the profound knowledge of who they are and where they have come from, and of their role in building the future for their people. In the weeks following the equinox, the soldiers of the three armies are joined by some 6,000 or so warriors, under the banners of heroic winterfolk champions. Some 60 captains come to the marshes on pilgrimages of their own, joining their warbands to one or other of the armies. The great majority choose to stand with the Green Shield, but there are also heroes who choose to knot their skein with the two other armies. In addition, at noon on the 7th day after the equinox, 3 cohorts of elfin knights stride from out of the west to join the winterfolk camped around the ancient town of Rundhall. Almost 10,000 warriors from the fields of glory. Rumour quickly spreads that they have come from somewhere deep in the marshes around the Sovevan, or perhaps from beneath the waters themselves. Their splendid golden chain and the orichalcum blades of their spears, axes and swords gleam bright in the sunlight. At the head of each cohort marches a crimson and gold general, a favoured warrior leading the hosts of the commander of the Golden Armies. They have come to fight with the people of Wintermark, swelling the numbers camped around Rundhall to nearly 30,000 warriors. Shortly after their arrival, news reaches the Winterfolk commanders that the rest of the Empire is on the move. The Fire of the South, encamped for the last 3 months on the edges of the Whittle Grove, are moving overland towards Rundhall. They expect to be joined shortly by the Navarre Blackthorns, already on the move from distant Upwold, racing the Redwind Corsairs and seeking to beat the Fire of the South to the rendezvous with the 3 armies of Wintermark, despite their head start. Yet the 3 peoples are in little mood to wait. As soon as confirmation that their allies are on the way reach them, the Green Shields start to break camp swiftly, followed by the Blood Cloaks and the Fist of the Mountain, and their allies from the Summer Realm. They begin the march north through Skymark, and along the eastern shores of the Rickyvesi, through Brookland, and ultimately into Summer Suak. Ahead of them range heroic captains and scouts. Almost immediately they encounter Jotun warbands probing the defences of the Calavesa marshes. There are bloody clashes, but as soon as it becomes clear that the Winterfolk champions are the front-runners of an immense force, the Orc champions fall back across the border into Summer Suak. 3 weeks after the autumn equinox, the Fire of the South catches up with the armies of Wintermark. They cross into Sealtalk together. While the Jotun have been sending out warbands to raid northern Calavesa and western Skarsind, the armies themselves have been consolidating their hold over the land that they have conquered. Fortified camps have been raised along the southern and eastern borders, many located around beacon towers built long ago by the people of Wintermark. The alarm is raised almost immediately. 4 imperial armies are matched by 4 Jotun armies waiting in Sealtalk. Ursa Jansdottir, the Queen of Kalsi, has established a makeshift court in Atalak, the spiritual heart of the Suak people. The banners of the Lion of the North, the Howling Knight, and the Skalderborn flutter over the walls, broken during the fall of Atalak, but quickly rebuilt by thralls under the command of the occupation force. Somewhat farther north, in East Flows, the heavily armoured warriors of the Shield of the Mountain have positioned themselves along the eastern borders, near Wreck on the East Flows, perhaps eager to engage the Imperial Orcs. As soon as word reaches their commander, they begin to march south to engage the Imperial armies. It only takes a short time for the Jotun Queen to bring her forces into position, and as the Orcs take up defensive formations across Sealtalk, the beacons are lit, spreading news of the Imperial invasion across the territory. The Lion of the North is adept at working alongside other orc forces, and it seems that this season they have taken special care to keep a watch over the borders of Semasuak, perhaps anticipating the Imperial strategy. Or perhaps Circe Jansdottir had her Jarl searching for something else across the cold plains. It hardly matters. Nearly 35,000 Imperial soldiers and their allies clash with a significantly smaller Jotun force along the outskirts of Sealtok. The Wintermark strategy is as direct as it is offensive. Engage the orcs directly and drive them out of Sealtok. The orcs, for their part, fight cautiously, defensively, but their hastily constructed fortifications are quickly overrun by the fury of the Wintermark advance. Blood is spilled on the tundra, but significantly less blood than might have been expected. As in the previous season, the waters of Semasuak, the many lakes, streams, and rivers thrum with life. Spring magic infuses every drop with healing power, ensuring that any wound that is not fatal swiftly heals. As always with this potent curse, although its effects are seen as beneficial by the individual, it protects both orc and human, defender and aggressor in equal measure. But despite its power, it cannot stop the Imperial fist driving the Jotun defenders back. Even the Shield of the Mountain, focused on making the Empire pay for every inch of territory they gain, can do little more than slow the folk of Wintermark and their allies. As news reaches the commanders of Wintermark of the approach of the Black Thorns, however, the Jotun also receive reinforcement. The swift-footed Navarre army, their cunning honed to supernatural acuity, arrive hours after another 15,000 Jotun arrived to support the Queen of Kalsi, including the Fist of Ulven, who march under the command of the King of the South. The southern armies roar out their war songs of their people as they come, eager for the opportunity to again face Imperial warriors in battle. The Imperial advance towards Atalak slows, although it doesn't reverse. Next to arrive are the Red-Winged Corsairs, supported by their own warband of summer warriors, this time in scarlet tagelmust with blood-gold booge and vicious blood-red hunting cats. While the orcs seek to contain Imperial forces in Sealtok, with the aid of the Blackthorns and the fire of the south, the Corsairs break through the enemy defences and push through into northern Semasuak. Their aim is simple enough: raid the Jotun defences, take as many prisoners as they can, and if possible, reach the pride of Ika's tears and unburden the Jotun of their stolen mithril. Finally, the Winter Sun, the Bounders, and the Tusks join the invasion. The former two armies, like the Black Thorns, have been granted supernatural clarity, and join forces swiftly with the Navarre to survey the battlefield and devise a responsive and effective strategy for overwhelming the Jotun. Where the armies of Wintermark seek out the Jotun at every opportunity, seeking to overwhelm them entirely, where the Corsairs raid deep into enemy territory, the rest of the Imperial forces chosen a more conservative strategy, looking to minimize casualties, something made easier by the spring magic that sparkles in the water of Semasuak. Not so the Tusks. The disciplined soldiers of the 4th Marcher Army join with their northern neighbours in seeking out every opportunity to overwhelm the Jotun. With them fight 1,500 hulking ogre-like beasts in lion's head tabards, bearing great iron-shod hammers, each one more than a match for any 2 orc warriors. For all their size and rough features, they are no wild beasts. Rather, they are courageous warriors led by a gigantic knight commander, nearly 3 times the height of the stoutest soldier among the Tusks. On the long trek from Astolat, they've learned a number of marching songs, and join their booming voices to those of their smaller allies as the battle rages. Yet for each Imperial army that fights in Semasuak, it seems the Jotun have an army of their own, perhaps more. Back and forth the battle lines, ebbing and flowing like waves beating against the shore. At one point it seems that the Jotun will manage to hold the Imperial advance, but over the course of 3 days of almost continuous fighting, the orcs are forced to withdraw. Step by agonizing step, they are forced to retreat north and west towards Atalak. The fighting is brutal, fierce, bloody. In spite of healing magic, 3,000 Imperial soldiers fall and do not rise again, or are left unable to continue to fight. In contrast, the defensive strategy of the Jotun means they have lost perhaps 2,000 warriors. But in the process, they have lost almost all of Atalak. With the Winterfolk leading the way, the fighting is at least less savage than it might have been. Quarter is given. As night falls, the dead and the dying are removed from the field of battle, rather than being left to rot in the sun. Even the Navarre of the Black Thorns fight with something recognizable as honor. This respect to the enemy is noted and reciprocated. 3 significant factors have made all the difference here. Without the bold strategies and honourable tactics of the Wintermark generals, and the fury of the Tusks, without the support of the Winterfolk heroes, without the aid of the Summer Knights and the clear sight granted by day magic, the Empire would not have been victorious. Without any one of these 3 critical factors, the Empire would have made significantly fewer gains here. But, with the winter solstice rapidly approaching, the Jotun defenders of Semersuak have been driven back into the walls of Atalak itself. Perhaps as much as 9/10 of Sealtok is under Imperial control. An almost negligible fraction of the great swaths of land that stretch out towards the wasteland of Sirku. But it is a start, at least. There are 3 other factors that might influence the campaign in Semersuak. The scouts of the Red Wing Corsairs are no match for the unconquered of the 7th Wave when it comes to learning the plans of their enemies. But their daring strategy of capturing the enemy rather than simply killing them does provide some additional intelligence of interest to the commanders of the Imperial armies. Last season, after the Empire abandoned Semersuak, the dead rose to attack the living. The Jotun and many of the Suak left behind believe the Empire withdrew specifically so that they can unleash unholy curses on all the territory and on their own people. It is not so much that this has further soured the Orcs' opinion of the Empire, as that it has left several halls in Semersuak questioning whether they still wish to be part of the Empire at all. Perhaps this goes some way to explain how, among the scouts of the Queen of Kalsi, there are a handful of Suak who have taken the choice and chosen to be Jotun. It is easy to paint them as traitors to their people, their nation, their empire. When one is captured alive, however, in the hours before her execution, she speaks stoically about her decision and the decision of her comrades. She has lost faith in the Empire, and she is not the only one. She would rather be Jotun than continue to live among the people who use withering curses against the weak and defenceless, than try to justify their actions with sophistry, who would place expediency about the heroic ideals of the people of Wintermark. She is tried, and she is executed, and she goes to her death without flinching. She does not fear the labyrinth, nor the judgment of her ancestors. These turncoats are not plentiful, surely no more than a few score or so across the entire territory, but they perhaps provide a warning of the real threat the Jotun pose. Given 3 decades, 30 years ruling Semersuak, such as they had in the Mournwold, who can say how many young winterfolk might have grown up feeling that they have more in common with their orc conquerors than their cousins to the south? But the use of dark and indiscriminate magic, something the Jotun have perhaps come to expect from the Empire, is as nothing next to the fury of the Queen of Kalsi and her Jarls feel about an unforgivable crime that has been committed by Imperial agents. To the west of Semersuak, outside the borders of the territories, there once stood a low stone worn by the elements. It stood by itself in a wooded glade, weather-beaten and relatively unremarkable. It represented a place of truce, where the northern Jotun and the winterfolk could meet without fear of violence. Neutral ground, claimed by neither human nor orc as part of their nation. During the autumn equinox, cowardly assassins struck at the stone, destroying it and slaughtered the orcs camped nearby. This, more than any disrespect shown to the heroic dead, has left Ursa Jansdottir in the grip of a cold fury. Now, when the King of Narkis speaks to her of the treacherous spirit of the Imperial humans, she does not contradict him. The greatest symbol of the possibility of understanding between Jotun and Wintermark is no more, and there is no doubt in the mind of any Western Orcs who is to blame. Game information. Summer Suak. The Empire has conquered most of Sealtok, but the Jotun still control the settlement of Atalak. The experience of fighting in close proximity with the Knights of Glory can be particularly inspirational, especially if one already has a trace of summer magic in their blood. Any character whose military unit supported one of the 4 armies that engaged in an overwhelming assault or triumphant charge alongside the Heralds, that is, the Bloodcloaks, the Fist of the Mountains, the Green Shields, or the Tusks, may choose to begin the next event experiencing a role-playing effect. You are filled with confidence. Nothing is beyond you if you put your mind to it. Now is the time to act, to pursue goals you have been neglecting. Anyone who questions your prowess must be taught a quick lesson about the foolishness of doubting you. Furthermore, if you're a changeling whose military unit supported one of these armies, the role-playing effect is much more pronounced. If you are a changeling and you also have the hero skill, you have an additional hero point for the duration of the event. Such characters may also use their experience of fighting alongside the Knights of Glory to permanently increase the strength of their lineage. Please bear in mind that these opportunities are only available to characters whose military units supported one of these 4 armies in downtime. You are free to roleplay, you are present as always, but you do not qualify for the additional hero point or the ability to increase your changeling lineage trappings.